All right, now what if your guests' pets had a history, a profile, and could be screened just like the owners?
And so we created a digital product, a software platform to help kind of just put some guardrails around that. And
Meet the team behind Petscreening, the tech that verifies service animals, screens pets, and builds trust between hosts and animal lovers.
And so what happens was when someone applies for that rental, then our process, because it's a tech product, it gets kicked off and that person would go through our platform and we would.
Did you know that only 30% of vacation rentals allow pets? And yet pet-friendly listings earn 24% more and book 3 times faster.
30% of the vacation rentals are pet friendly. So there's a whole untapped market out there for people to capitalize by being pet friendly.
My name is Jason Muth. I'm a 33-time Airbnb superhost. After working 25 years in the media business, I started building my chapter 2 through the world of short-term rentals. Since then, I've hosted over 6,800 guests, including their furry friends. And now we're managing over $30 million worth of vacation homes, including our own properties and the ones on behalf of our clients. This show is all about helping you create a smart stay. Personal, profitable, and built to last. It's real world hosting done smart. Now, let's learn about pet screening. Rory, today we're talking about being pet friendly at short-term rentals. We've been pet friendly for 9 years at our properties. We understand the value of being pet friendly. Rory, you probably have seen all of our properties, obviously, because you come to them with me. How much pet damage have we had over the years?
We've had very minimal. It has happened. We've had a few scratched doors. We've had a couple of cleanings that were a little bit more difficult than they should have been. But all in all, for what it's worth, being a dog-friendly property is probably one of the single best things you can do to increase your revenue. But I think today we're going to address some of the concerns and apprehensions people have about being dog-friendly and some ways to combat that.
I kind of forgot about those things. I thought you were going to say none, because we don't have a lot. There's not a lot of pet damage or anything, but yeah, we used to have a dog, obviously, and she departed, went over the Rainbow Bridge 5 years ago. At this point, she's still on my phone, as she lives on forever, and her box of ashes is in the living room, and our daughter thinks she's still alive, but that's a whole nother podcast. Let's welcome the folks from Petscreening. This is John Bradford and Mike Shytle. Did I get that right, Mike?
Sure Excellent. Did. Good job.
Yeah, and Petscreening, I can't wait to learn more about what the two of you have put together with this company. I did not know about you prior to a couple of weeks ago when I got literally a blind email, probably just a marketing outreach email. We were booking guests for the podcast at the time, and I did something I don't normally do. And I wrote back and I'm like, hey, would you guys want to be on this podcast? Like, we're booking guests and I want to talk about pets at short-term rentals. And that's probably not the response you were expecting when you sent this marketing email out, but here we are. So welcome to Smart Stay Show.
Thank you. Thanks for having us.
All right. Let's start with Petscreening. So tell us about the company. When was this started? What do you guys do there? And how do you serve the vacation rental industry?
Yeah. So Petscreening, we're a almost 9-year-old company. Look, I'm a pet owner, a pet lover. In fact, my screensaver is my dog that passed away 12 years ago. I have not let go of her either. So that speaks to me, by the way, Jason. We believe that pets should be able to go anywhere people live, work, play, stay, or travel. Now, that's not always practical, but most certainly we understand the passion people have for pets. Petscreening was really started just to help the long-term housing industries. I know this podcast is all about vacation rentals, but we started in the long-term space to make sure property managers could put their policies forward so that people understood their policies as it relates to pets. And then there's also people that have assistance animals, service animals, and support animals. And there's been I hate to say it, some bad actors that take advantage of that. And so we created a digital product, a software platform to help kind of just put some guardrails around that. And it's been an amazing growth trajectory. We're in like I think Mike was 7.6 million rentals across the country use Petscreening. Military bases use us, student housing, single family, multifamily, manufactured housing, et cetera. Now, how this relates to short-term rentals is we launched short-term rentals this year. The reason we did, Jason and Rory, is because we had vacation rental companies coming to us and, hey, I need a way to manage this as well. So it's relatively new for us to be in this space, but we're having a lot of success so far. And we're just really appreciative you picked us up to talk about it.
So if I could break this down, understand it in the terms of Airbnb short-term rental operators, we welcome guests that have profiles and ratings. And we could read past comments about them. So do pets now have this too? Is like Rosie, our dog, could have had a profile as to how great she would have been at every one of these rentals?
So in the long-term space, we do have the largest incident data. In fact, the only incident database of both, I would say, not so good things and then good things, right? If you go to Vegas and you don't lose any money, I'd say that's a good day, right? So if a dog moves in and out of a property and there's no damage, that's a good event for a dog. And so, while we don't have something that's publicly available yet, we know that as we move on to ideas so that people who have pets can build this sort of history of where their dog was with them and the experiences that provider may have had to help build authority and credibility. So we're on our way doing that. We have the data, but we haven't really introduced that publicly, so to speak.
Yeah. So yeah, I don't want to skate over the long-term rentals because that's interesting to me as well. I used to work as a broker in the city of Boston, and I know working with tenants who had dogs or cats were very difficult to work with and to find a landlord that was comfortable working with them, particularly when the market was really strong for landlords. Tell us a little bit about what that process looks like for somebody who's kind of just entering the system for the first time and wants to use Petscreening to either help them get an apartment, or you could answer it the other way around, to get some reassurance that the place they're going to rent to a tenant is going to be safe.
So I promise Mike will talk in a moment when we get to short-term rentals because he runs our short-term rental product. But so what happens, Rory, is a property manager typically comes and uses our service. Our service is free for property managers in the long-term space, and we integrate with all the platforms that they typically use to manage that rental. And so what happens is when someone applies for that rental, then our process, because it's a tech product, it gets kicked off, and that person would go through our platform, and we would screen them. Now, it may sound a little crazy, but we actually screen everybody, even people without pets, because people without pets, there's no cost for someone without a pet to go through our platform. But people who don't have pets still need to acknowledge that if they don't have a pet at move-in, they won't do pet fostering. As noble as pet fostering is, if you're fostering a pet, there is a pet in the unit. They won't have visiting pets, etc. If someone, Rory, says they have like a service animal or an emotional support animal, our product, we make sure that those people meet the Fair Housing Act guidelines, which a lot of property managers, they don't understand it. They don't want to, they would prefer to let someone else handle that. And that's really what we do. And we do it all day long for 7.6 million rentals across the country in all 50 states.
So, thinking about why you should welcome pets to a vacation rental, from the start, when we started this, Rory, in 2016, with our one little property that we still own today, to us, it was because we had a dog and we just thought it was natural to travel with a dog. And I do remember, when we got that property, we made it look less granny and more, lake home. But we kept the carpets. And over time, those did get a little dingy with all the pets that we welcomed there. But I found that Stanley Steamer's a great partner. Then I decided to rent big green machines. Then I decided to buy a big green machine. And then I finally decided to replace all the carpeting, as we probably should have from the start. And that seemed to solve a lot of the issues that pets might leave behind on the carpeting. It is a concern that people have, but we do charge a pet fee. And I do think that over time, that has really helped, make the properties even more profitable with the pet fees that we have, which theoretically we could have retained and put toward all that additional carpeting if we kept it like in a separate account. But I'm a big fan of making a place pet friendly. So Mike, why did you guys get into this space in vacation rentals?
The reason we got into this space is because we had a lot of vacation rental, short-term rental folks using our long-term rental product, and it wasn't as streamlined as it needed to be. And so they asked us to create a product strictly for them. And so John agreed, and we came up with a brand new streamlined product that's very customizable, where hosts and owners can ask the questions they want to ask. Because back on your point on the benefits of being pet friendly, is only 30% of the vacation rentals are pet friendly. So there's a whole untapped market out there for people to capitalize by being pet friendly. And so if you do a search on Airbnb for your vacation rental, then add pet friendly, most of them will go away because there's such a limited volume of them. And hosts who are pet friendly see a 24% increase in revenue. The vacation rental books 3 times faster, and it's the number one search term on Airbnb. So lots and lots of reasons. And y'all mentioned earlier at the start that y'all manage 25 properties. We're finding that hosts who manage other folks' properties can help the owner become more comfortable to become pet friendly. Everybody has this fear that pets cause lots of damage, but Rory, you just said that really didn't happen. And this will help them alleviate their fears because you're going to screen all pets and animals before they arrive at the place at your vacation rental to make sure they satisfy and qualify against your whole pet policies. So lots and lots of reasons.
I will say that the property that we have that is we have a couple that are pet friendly. Unfortunately, we have 8%, 2 out of 25 right now, which is below the standard of the industry. But I'll explain why. I do ask this question when we are talking to every potential person that reaches out to us, like if they want to have pets for guests, if they're allowed to have pets for guests. That's the part that in the market that we're operating in is the problem, because usually it's mostly condos and condo associations, and usually they don't allow pets for guests. They might allow pets for owners, but not for guests. Now, the handful that do allow it, they kill it, right? Our number one performing property revenue-wise is a pet-friendly property. One of the properties that we launched earlier this year in the spring, I asked the owner and he said, yeah, it's not in the documents that we can't allow pets for guests. I said, I recommend that you do it. And we did. And it has way outperformed all the other ones that we launched in the summertime. Consistently booked. It's because of the amount of people that travel to Provincetown with pets. Our other properties are in New Hampshire. And our target there are multi-generational families. And that's who travels with pets, right?
Yes.
So like we made all the places pet friendly up there. But, you know, we always recommend when you can make your place pet friendly to do so. And any additional revenue that you get will definitely offset any issues that you're going to have with the pets. Now, what is the vetting process like, or what is it like as a vacation rental owner or manager in working with Petscreening in your platform? Like, what do we get, or what do we look at, or, you know, what information is passed on to us as we're making a decision about renting to somebody with a pet?
John, you want this one or me?
Yeah. So, I mean, essentially, we help you take your policies. I mean, I imagine the two of you probably have some policies that you have. We recommend some policies. If you're at the beach, you know, wet dogs shouldn't be on a couch or on a mattress, for example. So we help build your policies within our platform. The person, before their reservation begins, would go through and acknowledge all the rules that are important to you and your assets that you're managing. And we collect basic information like a photo, the dog name, the size, the weight, things that you should just kind of know what you're getting ready to have in your property, if you will. And really, this is it's as much as about helping a host just have rules set forward, but also creating some liability protection. Because if someone says, yes, I'm going to keep my dog on a leash at all times while they're visiting the property, as they should, if that dog were not on a leash and went and bit someone, you're going to love the fact that you have them on the record acknowledging it should have been on a leash. We see this all the time in long term, and it's really no different for short term. I will tell you, service animals, I don't know how often, Rory and Jason, you encounter this, but some people, you know, short-term vacation doesn't fall under the Fair Housing Act, but it does fall under the ADA for public accommodations. And people will say, well, my dog is a service animal. And so our platform, we have the tools, the technology built in to actually make sure that if someone is seeking an accommodation for a service animal, that actually meets the ADA standard. And we do that, and we've been doing this for almost 9 years already under fair housing. So while this only is kind of half of that because it's service animals only, you know, we handle that, and that's a big lift off of a host, you know, sort of plate, because a lot of hosts, it's kind of a side hustle. They have other jobs and they don't want to necessarily, they don't know all the laws and the rules, and because it does apply in all 50 states, it doesn't matter where it is, we can help them.
Yeah. I mean, the service animal issue can be very intimidating to
Yes,
a lot of hosts. I mean,
Yes.
Fortunately, we're very familiar with what questions can be asked,
Yes.
and you know what can't be. So we have policies, but you know, we're a professional co-host and professional attorney that work in this space, so we're a little bit more comfortable maybe than most. But it is still amazing to me these days just how many people attempt to bring fraudulent service animals into regular properties. And you can typically screen these people out right away when you ask, oh, if you have a service animal, what service is it trained to help to provide for you? And they say, oh, it's just an emotional support animal. Well, red flag right there. That means they were attempting fraud with your listing by bringing in something that they shouldn't bring in there.
Yep.
And the other thing we do for these properties that are not pet friendly is we say, okay, if you have a service animal, that's wonderful. The service animal, of course, is not a pet and can come into the property with you, but must travel with you throughout your stay. So they cannot stay back in the property. If they're a service animal, they're not going to stay back. But I hear you there with that aspect of the service, giving a little bit of reassurance and confidence to the hosts that their policies are being honored. Otherwise, my fear is that a lot of people who don't know, or hosts that don't know this space, is they'll just allow anybody in that says they have a service animal because they're just afraid of running afoul of the law.
Well, you're right. And you know what, Rory? These folks will surf us up ID card. And the ID card, the Department of Justice, ADA, HUD, none of those agencies recognize any type of registration. They're really, I hate to say it, but it's a capitalist that's created a business to issue these ID cards. They really don't, they're not needed. A true service animal is not, you don't need one of these cards. And so to your point, we ask about the task that this dog is trained to do. And if they put in, to your point about emotional support, we deliver the response back. So that way the host doesn't really have to, do that. I mean, look, it's been an amazing service to just be a little bit of a pressure relief there in that instance. And I point to two industries: student housing and hotels. Think just like a hotel. Think Marriott's, Hilton's, etc. When I was in college, if you saw a dog on campus, it was like seeing a unicorn. They just didn't exist. Now you go to a college campus, dogs are everywhere because the student housing has completely opened up their assets to be pet friendly. Same thing with hotels. It's hard to find a hotel nowadays that doesn't even allow a pet. We think the short-term vacation rental industry is going to continue to shift that way. And for those that don't, they're going to have a lot of service animals because people are going to try to get around the rules. And that's where we come in, just to make sure that they're going to follow the rules.
Yeah, I talk to a lot of short-term hosts, and there's lots of confusion on what you can and can't do for service and support animals. Whether you can charge pet fees, whether you can charge extra deposits for them to be since they're a service animal. So there's a whole lot of confusion out there. Y'all are fortunate because you're attorneys, but most folks aren't like that. So that's where we really step in and help them understand the rules and really screen it for them. They just point to Petscreening. They go through the Petscreening process. We've got 30 people on the back end that review the service animal and emotional support animal requests to make sure they comply with the ADA and the fair housing laws. So it's an added level of comfort for sure.
We do receive a not insignificant amount of requests for people looking to book one of our properties that is not pet friendly, that they want to bring their support animal. And to Rory's point, the question that usually trips them up is, basically that the animal's going to have to remain with them at all times. Going to a place like Provincetown, you're looking to go out for dinner, you're looking to go dancing, you're looking to party, go to drag shows, do whatever you're doing there. And yes, if that is a service animal, that animal will accompany that human in all those places. If it's not, the animal will not. So I almost think that asking that one question, usually we kind of overwhelm them with a longer message, asking the questions we're allowed to ask, but then saying, of course, you realize that the animal is going to have to be with you at all times. We usually don't hear back from those guests. That's usually a way of kind of screening somebody out where we didn't do anything wrong. We didn't ask any questions. We didn't deny it, but we basically reiterated the rules of the platform. And that's kind of their not so subtle way of going to try to find another rental that is not one of ours. And that seems like it's worked out well for us. But yeah, and then it's never been an issue for us in New Hampshire, because we've always allowed pets, realizing that a service animal is not a pet. If they mention it's a service animal, then we just don't charge a pet fee for it. But, the dogs are allowed inside there. Go ahead.
One thing I was going to talk about is boarding costs. I mean, you talk about profitability, right? People will pay. I mean, the average boarding price is $55 for most, just I'd say across the board, right? There are some cities that are much higher than that, but on average. So you figure if someone's staying 7 days somewhere, if they're come into your town for a week, they're going to spend about $400 to board their dog. So if they pay $400 or less, then to them it's a win. And then and because I mean, look, if I came and stayed at your property with my dog and I left, I promise you would probably not even know I had a dog because I'm just that kind of dog owner, right? And so, Rory, earlier, the damage has been minimal, if any. The point is, there's a real opportunity for owners to make a lot of revenue here just by opening their doors to pets. But we understand if you're going to do that, they have to follow the rules. And that's where our platform really shines.
Yeah, we try to over communicate with people that are bringing dogs is really what we're talking about most of our, but I do want to talk about other animals in a second.
Yes.
We basically say, hey, listen, make sure that the pets stay off the furniture. We have signs that are in the houses and the bedrooms saying, please keep, all dogs off of the couch or off of the bed. We try to keep it a little cheeky with like our phrasing, so it's not just so draconian with the rules. I've had a handful of people, maybe one or two, that kind of say your place wasn't pet friendly, even though you claimed it was, because I couldn't let my dog sleep with me. I'm sorry. Pet friendly means you're allowed to have the dog with you. It doesn't mean that the dog could have their run of the house. And yeah, most people that bring their dogs are great dog owners, and they understand that they're a guest in this home. There are others that, I've had my cleaners just be like, oh my God, the amount of dog hair that's here and it's everywhere. And, that's not the dog's fault, right? Like if they shed, they shed. But if the dogs do things beyond just natural shedding, which again is not their fault, then I do hold the owners a bit more responsible for that in being a good pet owner as you travel. And I want to talk about that as well. We have dog beds at our places, as just a bare minimum that kind of says dogs are welcome. I've seen some people that leave out dog treats. They have poop bags. They have, dog bowls. What are some other things people can do to be friendly toward animals when they say that they're friendly toward animals, especially at short-term rentals?
Yeah, crates. Having a crate in at the vacation rental is also a big one to help them when they are not with you to be able to feel safe and secure and not cause damage for sure.
Yeah.
Also perfect for unruly children.
That's right. I heard the other day someone says kids cause more damage than pets do, and pet owners don't throw parties at 2 o'clock in the morning. So
Sounds, if you don't own kidscreening.com just yet, it sounds like
Yep.
that should be the next part of your whiteboarding when you're figuring out the
Yeah.
next part of your growth.
Yeah. Another thing is just like maybe on the refrigerator. I mean, I know magnets are not cool, but something that talks about local emergency vets. So if something did happen and they don't know the local vet community, that could be something like that's just helpful. Maybe if there's a local dog, some of the communities have dog parks, and just making sure they know where those could be. Just again for a matter of convenience. I think those are things that people will love. And I mean, like the timeshare industry. In fact, I'm getting ready to go to a timeshare conference. It's akin to what we're talking about today. And they tell us that direct bookings, like they'll use Airbnb or VRBO to find a pet friendly property. And once they find one that they love, then in future years, they want to come and book direct, and not to take away any revenue from Airbnb or VRBO. I know you're super host. My point is, I think once people find a place they love and they know it's pet friendly and they love that town or that destination, they're going to keep coming back. And chances are they'll try and contact the host directly, which according to the timeshare folks, it saves them a lot of booking fees because those repeat visits really help. So I don't know if that's what you would see in your specific industry, but just sharing that.
I mean, despite the fact that we're super hosts, like we love direct bookings, and really the direct booking is an advantage to the person booking more so than us, because we're basically making about the same amount of money. It's just the guest is saving the money. I mean, especially with Airbnbs, by the time this comes out, Airbnb is about to put their fees up, so the full burden of the fee is on the host instead of the guest booking and taking 12-13% upcharge from what they're booking. So surprise, surprise, what is every Airbnb listing about to do? We have offsets of 15-16%. So the Airbnb pricing is going to be higher than the direct pricing. Like that's literally what everybody in our space is about to do in late October. Wow. So, guests are going to have the advantage of booking directly and saving money that way. And we'll charge our pet fee through our direct booking. And then, yes, it would be nice to have a little bit of vetting through a company like Petscreening, if that's possible. Yeah. So most people that are listening to this podcast are not travelers, right? Like, we talk to the hosts and we talk to people that are in the industry that own the properties. But what is this going to look like when, let's say that I like to travel to Airbnbs or to short-term rentals with my dog that I don't have anymore? Can I, like, in a request say, hey, it's Jason, we're coming to the market for a little bit. We'd love to stay at your place. By the way, here's a link to, Rosie's Petscreening account. Is that how that would work? Like, what would I see, or how's that fleshed out?
So right now, when a guest has their own pet screening account, we call it a passport and visa because we are traveling, right? Passports and visa. Once they create their pet screening passport, they can take it at other places. So when they come to your place, they will comply with your pet policies, and you can ask them questions about what you require for their pet policies. But when they go somewhere else, to Florida or somewhere else, then they have different policies and different things that they would want to confirm, rabies and things like that, that the pet has complied with. So they'll have an account that then they can take any other place when they travel and satisfy the host's pet policies that way too.
Yeah, so it's portable, right? Because what stays the same is the dog's picture is the same, the information on the dog's the same. If we're talking about the same dog, by the way, right? The only thing that really changes is just the policies for wherever they're going. So, like in our long-term properties, our profiles get shared all the time because people are moving around. So we've kind of continued that right here. And integrations are important. I mean, we're integrated with. I mean, Mike, you can rattle them off. I mean,
yeah, owner is completed. Hospitable direct connect to Airbnb will be out in 2 weeks. Hospitable property management will be out in October, and then Guesties next, hopefully by the end of the year. So,
yeah, and I only share that because I think it shows, like, I hate to say street cred, right? But we have these PMS providers that want us to be a part of their platform, and they really don't contemplate pets, and they don't want to touch this service animal thing with a 10-foot pole, right? So, we're just like in long term, we're integrated with every PMS out there. So we very much see us continue to integrate with every PMS in this space as well.
Have you guys kicked around offering any insurance to hosts through, like, or is that not a
Yeah, so I mean, look, we have an insurance license because in the long term space we have been able to successfully get some renters insurance products to include bite liability just as a feature of that, and we also have been able to help launch a pet health insurance, which is it's a kind of a new space, but people are buying insurance for their dogs, but it can be very expensive. So we've been able to help create what we call like a pet light health, which it's more catastrophic type events, meaning, some insurance is better than no insurance. And so while we're not trying to be an insurance company, to your question, Jason, but we do have the leverage now to get some insurance companies to think differently. So I hope eventually we can bring something that makes sense to the market. What we don't want to do is run over other people and other products because we just want to stick to what we do really, really well, which is pets and policy management. But it does make sense over time to be able to offer products. I would love to tell you about Fido Alert. This is amazing. Have you heard of the Fido Alert?
No.
Okay, this will blow your mind. So this is our social mission. We started Fido. So think Amber Alert for kids. We talked a lot about kids. So there was no Amber Alert for pets. So as a part, we like to use our profits to do good. That's very, very important to me as an individual. So we started Fido Alert for dogs and then Tabby Alert for cats. I think Tabby Alert, like Tabby Cat. And it is a free service because my company pays for it with our profits. It's not free to me. We've spent millions of dollars building it. But if someone signs up for Fido Alert or Tabby Alert, we send them a free customized aluminum tag that has a QR code and a Fido number or Tabby number, which directly ties to their cell phone. So they will get an SMS text message if their dog escapes and someone scans the QR code. This is very important for people who are vacationing because they don't have a network of social media in that market because they're not from there, right? So Fido Alert, we've rescued 58,000 lost dogs and cats in the last 2.5 years. We have about 2.2 million pets on the Fido and Tabby Alert network. And people that use our product, even for what we're talking about today, can absolutely sign up for Fido and Tabby Alert as a part of that. We give that away for free. So we're really trying to do good as we, drive a company that's for profit. We want to do good. And Fido Alert's been amazing.
That's pretty neat. That's a much higher percentage of pets that find themselves getting lost than I expected. Well, you do that math, you're like, my God, come on, pets. Like, what are you doing?
Well, it's what happens. It's thunderstorms, it's fireworks. That is truly a lot of lost pets are from like sudden noises. I don't think they're all bad owners. I just think sometimes cats are sleuthy, right? You leave the door open for to get groceries and they sneak out and you don't even know they're gone until 2 days. Like, where's my cat? But dogs, you kind of know more instantaneously. But Fido Alert and Tabby Alert has been amazing. My goodness. I mean, we have, Nikki Hilton signed her dog up for one. I mean, we have some real professional, like people, and we didn't pay for anyone to do this, by the way. Like, we're not paying influencers. So anyway, it's just cool because as you sign up for our product and our passport, we give you the ability to sign up for Fido Alert for absolutely free. And that continues to work over and over, year after year. And then if you are in the network, and let's say you're at home one night, you may get a text message that says there's a lost dog in your area, because if someone sets off a Fido Alert within 5 miles, everyone in our network gets a digital message and a flyer of that dog, so you can be on the lookout for it, which is really cool.
I can just imagine like places where lots of people bring dogs, just their phone just going off like crazy, like on July 4th.
Well, there you go.
That
is the number one date of lost dogs is July 4th.
As we start to wrap up, I do want to ask about other animals, because we haven't talked about, you mentioned cats a couple of times. I know Rory comes from a cat family. I had cats years ago. The reason we don't do cats is because I am very allergic to cats.
Sure.
So the places that we use ourselves as well, like we just don't welcome cats there. We have had birds at our places. A couple birds have come. I had a snake, but it wasn't a pet snake. It just somehow got into one of my places that my guest discovered. So tell us about, these other pets that people travel with. Like, you guys probably have experience beyond dogs and cats.
Yeah, well, it's up to you, right? We let you decide. Do you want dogs and cats, dogs only, cats only, both? So it's your rules, right? Most people have same vacationing or do it limited to dogs. In the world of service animals, I know you guys know it because you're well tuned, right? In some instances, it can be a miniature horse, especially if someone has a mobility issue. So you got to be ready for that. But again, we would handle that for you. But notwithstanding, I would say typical dogs and cats, people can choose what they want to have in their properties. In the world of long term, we see lots of things. Support animals are a little more limited to what they used to be. There's no more barnyard animals. HUD has come out and said no barnyard animals, but there are exceptions to every rule. And no reptiles except one, turtles. Turtles made the cut under the Fair Housing Act, which is kind of interesting. But it's really up to the host on what they want to allow, and our tool can just regulate what it is you allow. So in your instance, you would say no cats, which means they would not be allowed to bring a cat, because there is no service cat, at least in most states. So
we have had a lot of horses lately. People near horse country allow horses, so we have had quite a few of those want to allow them. One of the funny things
the facilities for that's why.
Yeah, we have a section in Petscreening that shows that you can have them agree to certain your pet policies and also some rules. And one of the rules that's becoming more and more popular is I will not allow my dog to sit in my hot tub. And you've got to agree not to have the dog in. I didn't know dogs sat in hot tubs, but apparently they do. But it does clog the filter and causes problems for the next people. So that is one of the rules people want to have agreed to, which is interesting.
It's really bougie dogs that want to be in a hot tub, right?
Yeah. One thing we have learned in the last 4 months since the product is launched is we have the ability to screen folks who aren't bringing pets, just to get them to confirm that they're not bringing pets and that no pet visiting or no pet sitting, like John mentioned earlier. A lot of people go to these nice places and they have friends come and visit, and that's where a lot of liability comes in. But it also has a section where you can put the fine amount that they'll be fined if they get caught with an unauthorized pet. And usually the fines are between $300 and $500, we're seeing. But the people are seeing that they're putting zero pets on the reservations. Once they see the $500 fine, they're going back and say, I'd rather bring my dog for $125 a stay than get charged the $500 fine. So we're seeing hosts see an increase in pet revenue just by that. It's pretty interesting.
It changes their behavior, right? It changes their behavior.
By being honest.
Yes.
What's the most exotic pet that you have in your database? Do you know? Have you done some research on the outliers?
A
monkey.
Yeah, a monkey. I mean, we've seen in the past, we've seen pigs. It's just when you think you've seen it all, you see something new. But there's a little more boundaries now. When HUD released its latest guidance, which was over 5 years ago. But up till then, we saw lots of snakes. I mean, especially ESA snakes. Which I don't make fun of those folks because people can live their lives the way they want to, right? It's just we just make sure that people follow the rules. And when the rules change, we change with them. And that's what we do, because we're not punitive. There's nothing about our product that's punitive. We're not out to get people who need service animals, but we are going to make sure that if you say you have service animals, that it truly meets the standard.
All right. Well, Rory, any final thoughts? I know you've actually kind of fought the courts a bit with service animals.
I have in long-term context. It's just kind of it's just amazing the amount of maybe something to get a little bit passionate about the fraud that's in the space, and I've seen that firsthand. But
Yes.
my final question to you is a little bit lighter than that. Did the monkey have good reviews?
I don't know. I heard he was bananas.
Ah, there we go. See,
There it is.
He had the answer all teed up. All right. So petscreening.com is the website. We'll link it up in the show notes along with your social media. John and Mike, thank you so much for
thanks for having
giving
us.
Thank you.
Yeah, this is terrific insight about pets. If you are concerned about hosting with pets, feel free to reach out to us. We can talk to us at Smart Stay Coaching as well. We can coach you through how to get your property live and happy with all the pets and make extra money by welcoming pets into your property. Rory, thank you for your insight. We also link up str.legal in the show notes. I got to make sure that we're doing that. I know I keep saying it in these episodes, but I got to talk to Dan to make sure he's putting it down. He's hearing this.
We can always go back and fix it if we have to, but I appreciate it.
And thank you for listening. If you've enjoyed the episode, we love 5-star reviews. We love all your comments. If you want to be a guest on the show, you can go to smartstayshow.com and find all the past episodes, video and audio. And our lead form is on there also. You can fill that out. Let us know who you are and what you want to talk about. John and Mike and Rory, thank you. It's been great.
Thank you
We really
so much.
appreciate your time.
Thank you, guys.
And
Thank you.
we will see you on the next time.